Hey everyone, it's Dr. Lisa. This kind of looks blurry, so hopefully you're not having too much of a blurred experience here. Today we're going to be talking about some mystical aspects of healing and health and stuff that you don't normally hear in straight-laced Western medicine. And there's a very good reason for that, because they don't really care about wonder or things that they can't really define by their tests and measures. And the reason I'm saying they as if I'm out of them is because I feel I'm a mix of Eastern and Western mentality in medicine, in that the Eastern model qualifies things such as common sense and qualifies things such as, hey Melissa, so good to see you here today. Thank you for being here. You know, things like its energy and things that the Western model went a different route. It used to look at things that they of the unknown and try to listen into the body and the body's wisdom a little bit, but then we made antibiotics and we discovered the germ and we just went the path of germ warfare. And it's a very masculine, a very linear type of system. Well, Eastern model takes into account things such as your mood and your attitude and how that affects your energy and your social, it makes common sense to me a little bit more, that model. I may not feel like having sex, so therefore maybe that's not the best time for me to make a baby. Maybe my mind's not in the game for the long term. It's not even in the game for the short term. So in terms of women's health, I kind of gravitated for my own health towards Eastern philosophy and then mix that in with the Western. So today we're going to talk a little bit on that kind of the mystic unknown and its validity. Its validity because you know what else is kind of unknown? The entire universe. The entire universe that we base all of our science and all of our validation on. There's a whole bunch of unknown. In fact, when, E equals MC squared came about, hey, thanks for liking that one. When E equals MC squared came about from the wonderful Einstein, it really threw things up, because it was like, what? That Newtonian physics? Sir Isaac Newton stuff, that might not be exactly it. And, and the more we learn into quantum physics, we actually realize a lot of this stuff, I learned, you learned, solid, liquid, and gas, that's it. It's all mass is and volume and all that is solid, liquid, or gas. And it takes a certain structure, and therefore it is exactly as that is, as something real, solid, I can talk. If you look into quantum physics, there's stuff in those atoms. It doesn't end at atoms. We learned electrons, protons, neutrons, and then there's more. There's more. In fact, there's more nothing. There's more space, whatever space is. There's more of that than there is of things. And even our human body, if you look at the gut microbiome, now we understand our health is in our gut. And it is mostly bacteria in there that's regulating whether or not the cells in our intestines are going to be permeable or not permeable. If we're going to take that organic, clean, beautiful chicken that we grew in our back, we had in our backyard and killed ourselves, whether or not it's going to mean anything. Melissa's saying we're all one common factor. We all have energy. Exactly. Plants, everything, right? Whether or not we're going to make that anything is kind of dependent on our gut bacteria. And guess what, guys? We are more bacteria than we are human cells. There's more bacteria of us. So then what is a human? Are we human cells actually the parasites on all these bacteria microbiome? Right? Mind blown. So I like to look at that. So I just was always somebody that sort of, I don't know why. It obviously was my calling. It's obviously part of my purpose. I just kind of grew up just thinking, hey, the body's really interesting, and it just doesn't end at my skin. There's other things there, or my organs, or my joints. I kind of, from very, very young, was into things like astrology and just drawn to things like looking into tarot cards and looking into, and how does this relate to medicine? Well, you know what? That's where science came from, looking up at the stars, wondering what if, being inquisitive. So today I want to bring in the idea of Kwan Yin because I always do things with feminine wisdom, feminine divine. Coming into my work was a big reason why I didn't understand it at the time that I became the belly guru, and definitely why I let go of that title and then just sort of went into what my work is with women's health and women's education and women's empowerment and women's leadership, because it all comes together. And today I wanted to show a little example of that by something that is pretty significant to me. Back in 2013, I wandered into a little shop when I was really getting into getting this calling that my wellness center was just, I had hit the end. I was done. Not that I was burnt out. I was actually revitalized with a lot of ideas how I could help women's health, but how was I going to make this spirituality piece part of mainstream my work? I was really perplexed. I'd been working the yoga game for several years, and it just was still, turning into mainstream medicine, moving away from that spiritual mysticism, our cycles, how we're connected to the earth, how we're connected to the sun, how we're connected to the moon, how we're connected to water. There's really not a qualifying factor for that. So I was walking down, and I went into this little shop of odds and ends in this town of Bible Belt, whatever, and I find this beautiful goddess, Kwan Yin. I didn't know who she was, but she was dark, and she was sitting on a shelf, and I got her for like $10. I just knew I had to have her. Well, lo and behold, she must have been powerful because she fell right out of my hand right after I paid for her, and she cracked. And I walk over to the flower diva, thank you very much, flower diva, who works on corsages and flower arrangements and all this. I'm like, what do you have for this? And I was so heartbroken because she was significant, I knew, but I didn't know much about her. I was just drawn to her. And this is what I'm talking about. This was my medicine. This just proved to me I need to make the shift. And when she taped her up, and there's a little hole in her, whatever, but we taped her up enough to know, she opened and cracked, and I saw she had a beautiful, pure crystal inside of her. I would have never known she had that in there. And it was, like literally grabbing her and taking her and making her mine. It was the money exchange. She literally slipped out of my hand in the bag, and I was like okay with it, although I heard a crack. I was like, but I remember the lady at the store was like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Like, I was all right with this happening, although I wasn't all right with it. And it was enough for me to see this white healing quartz crystal in it. And so if you look at stones and all of this stuff, there's meaning in that, the healing. That'll be another live that we'll do. I don't want to get into that, but my point is that I just had her, and I knew she was significant, and I knew I needed to have her in there. And the fact that she was dark, she was a dark bronze, and I was, looking at the darkness and the light and all of this stuff. I had the light goddess already in my center on my thing where we did yoga that people had, would comment on and things like that. I needed my dark. I needed her. I needed the dual dark goddess and the light. And just recently, she came back in to my life in these beautiful tarot cards that I just sort of found. This beautiful deck. You can see her there, and the different versions of her. And I just thought that was really funny, and how she came into my life again through the work of Alana Fairchild. Shout out to Alana Fairchild, who has that oracle deck. They're not like real tarot cards, they're more like oracle decks, and you use them a little differently. But anyway, the whole point of all those tarots and the oracle decks and all of that stuff is just intuitive, massaging your intuitive, and you looking in and looking for answers, because they're going to mean whatever the heck your story is. They're going to mean a certain picture, a certain deck, a certain pulling. You can do this with playing cards. I mean, these things, if you give them a meaning, they're your meaning, and they just sometimes allow you to edit your introspection a little bit better than going through the voices in your head and being real with that. So that's why I love them, and that's why I use them for my own medicine. And that's why I flip them sometimes and work with women to see that phase of themselves, to see that energy of themselves, especially if they're trying to birth and build something, whether it be a child or a business or just a shift. A lot of people who were taught a very masculinated way just by our environment of achieving things get really bent out of shape when they're changing direction, because they were convinced that there's only one way to get to where they want, and that's the way they decided on the path that they started 5 years ago. And if that relates to you, let me know. But I mean that, and I'm not saying you don't get there. Yeah, there's a one direct shot. We learned it in math, right? The distance between 2 points, the shortest distance is the straight line. But we didn't learn that it's not so bad to take a curvier path and a different cycle and actually go with the cycles, and that there's values in the cycle, and that going back to step 1 has value. And going back to step 2 has value. And you don't always have to, when you hit number 5, have to be at number 6 next. You can realize, because that is the most direct way. I do agree. But have you ever been on your GPS and it gives you like 3 different ways to get to your destination, and you kind of know better? Like, you know that one path they're giving you at that time of day. You're looking at your watch and you're like, I know by distance that's the least like most direct path, but I also know that based on my past experience of being around there at that time, which I can expect, there's going to be some traffic. Do I want to be just like on the least path, the least distance, or do I want to go a different route that technically is 5 more minutes on the GPS, but I know it weighs out better return on my investment because I'm not going to wait in the traffic and get frustrated, and by the time I get to my thing, I don't feel good. Right? We don't always learn the value of that, and yet that's how women work. That actually is our power. And our reminder is our cycle. And when we don't value, when we go into our cycles at 10, 11, 12, 13 years old in shame, oh my God, I have my period. Oh my God, I gotta go to school. It's gonna be a bad, oh my God, what could happen? All of that stress. If our mothers never take us in to understand the value because they never understood it, because Kotex and Tampax and the OBGYN just said, whatever, just take out they literally, I was told that. I was told just like, you're not having babies, you have some fibroids. Like, I was literally just recently told that, like last year. Like, we could always just take out your uterus. Oh yeah, you could just like remove like major, well yeah, it's not a major surgery anymore because, we just take it out of your vagina. We just pull it. Yeah. Like, why would I want to do that? Well, because you have fibroids. Yeah, but I'm handling my fibroids pretty well, and I actually know that it's because I have to change my cleaning products, my body care, and I'm estrogen dominant right now because I'm having some detox issues because I know myself enough. I'm a little bit of a liver person, and I've been stressed, and that's kind of where my stuff goes. And I know also I'm probably not digesting so well because my digestive enzymes are kind of messed up a little bit, and I'm going to just switch that. And lo and behold, next year's visit, my fibroids look so much smaller. Kept my uterus. And you know what? I wasn't even having a really hard time with the other thing. But I had these big things that they just couldn't believe, like I wasn't having could live with them. So that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. We have to kind of say, well, we can also go another route. Yeah, the linear way would be like take out my uterus, but like I kind of like my uterus. And I am not having babies with it, but you know what? It's a part of my body, and there is a value, and there's some fascia and other stuff connected. And I just feel like it would really cause a problem in there that I don't have right now, possibly. So I'm going to go the curvier route and eat better, change my body care products to beauty counter without like 1,300 chemicals that the U.S. lets in. That other countries like in European Union just say, hey, it's caused cancer enough and bothered people enough in studies or rats and things, so we're not going to give it to our people. And I'm going to do that, and I'm going to try really to honor that bodies change, and I've got to change with it. So, that's what I wanted to bring in, my story on Kwan Yin and how things, you've got to honor your intuition, and every cycle is my time to be highly intuitive. By the time, if you still bleed, then that is a reminder to go in, because you're more intuitive. Your chemistry, your biochemistry is letting you be more sensitive. It's not a need for a Midol. It actually, if you can work with things like essential oils and you're stressed the rest of the month, and admit you're eating crap and sleeping bad, and you need to talk with your husband or your wife about something, and your job needs, if you can do those little lifestyle things or voice things or emotional health, then actually you're going to be more comfortable, and you're going to be able to be intuitive with that time, and you're going to be able, so adjusting that. And the funny thing is that a couple of cards, again, she speaks to me, okay? I'm speaking to me, but I'm gonna, it's easier for me to kind of see something, because again, we live in a world of like reality, right? Real things of whatever we see, we think is real. So what came out with me is that the Yin Empress, this is the problem with women's health right now. Women in their health. These two cards. And these are some that just kind of spoke to me too. A couple, like 5 or 6 of them yesterday. I had them all out. I was looking through. This is a new deck, so I was looking through all of it. And then this one spoke to me. The Yin Empress. I know you can't see it, it's backwards, but you can see her. The Yin Empress. Yin Yang. Okay, Yan. And the Mother Fierce. And it's just kind of funny they came out, because I saw this as my daughter and myself. But it's actually me. It's my double X chromosome, and it's every woman's double X chromosome. It's this balance between the yin and the yang, right? Isn't that the real problem within ourselves? And we love to say this is all like men and masculine. We actually have it in ourselves. Like they have XY, they have a duality right there, they have a balance right there. Pull on each other. We have XX. We have a potential conflict. We have a mirror right there into our dark and our light, into that Kwan Yin dark that I found, and the light goddess that I had. So it's so interesting how the cycle, going back to our cycle and our menstrual cycle, is our very first school for that, right? It's our first school to see these phases, which, by the way, follow the moon. Interesting note, not really side tangent, but we're so cyclic that most women will start their menstruation around 4 a.m., which actually in Chinese medicine is liver cycle, which actually is heat, which actually is a lot of detox. Just super interesting. When you know a lot of different systems from a lot of different philosophies, you start seeing the overlap. And that is actually a detox time for us. It's a time, so when you abbreviate your period, when you decide you're not going to, you're going to just go on that pill that only 4 times a year, yay, you only have to get it 4 times a year, yay for you, you're only detoxing all that energetic mumbo jumbo and your body stuff 4 times a year, whereas I get to do it 12. And so what does this leave with moving into the matriarch role? Well, the thing is at that time, you've theoretically discovered your wisdom, and you've had many cycles to do that. And so moving into the matriarch feels very natural. You can utilize it. But if you're someone who has not experienced all that wisdom, if you've been disconnected, if you've been in dysfunction since a teen, if you were in dysfunction since a child, fearing even being a woman in this world, then you're going to have issues with menopause. And that's what I see in my practice. And that's what I see in women who are feeling it. Because boy, have we, Oprah Winfrey came on what, 84? We've had a lot of soul searching through her. We've had a lot of lifetime television. And, we are at a point where we are more aware and we're feeling it. And we're the women between like 35 and 35 and 55, that group right there, you have such an opportunity to get, make sure you catch up on some of that wisdom before you lose it. And then you feel unresolved. And I'm not saying that you're in a horrible place when you're there. If you did realize, you went through menopause and you never realized it. It's just that you have some work to do, or else you're going to be miserable. You're going to be complaining about your wrinkles. You're going to be complaining about all the things you've lost and how your kids never come visit you and you never had kids. And you're going to have so many unresolved issues that is going to make you miss out on the beauty of being the matriarch. So that's like 5 cents today. It's not my normal 2 cents that I say. That's like 5 cents today. Let me know how this speaks to you. Let me know your wisdom. You have goddess wisdom. You have all those phases of them. Even if you're not through into matriarch, she's speaking to you. The whole point of personal development, the whole point of seeing things in cards and flowers and nature and trees and all of this is because you get connected early. You get to get connected to the reality of the wonder. You are cosmic. That's why we can't let it all go. We can't let all that mysticism go to say that that's not medicine. We got to listen to the Native American. Okay? Just nature is their medicine. Just looking at, their relationship to it is their medicine. And it's ours too. And the more you want to say it's not, that's something that's unscientific and therefore is negated and not something you're going to look at even, then you're going to disconnect with yourself. And we've done that. And that's why we see such a mess. And the Western model of allopathic medicine has run its course. So that's where we're at. If you have a disease, it's wonderful. If you're diseased, you get that germ and it's great. But hey, we are not all diseased, and actually our bodies are desperate for seeing where we're working and getting society to change back to what we need. So that's it. Let me know what you're thinking, where you're at with your own, your own journey there to some of that mysticism of your own medicine. All right, talk to you tomorrow. So that's what we're gonna talk about Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday on my live streams. And they'll be around this time, somewhere in the afternoon. But I'm trying around that 1 o'clock so that you guys know you can be on live, because I know that's part of the problem of being live. But when you do listen in, let me know. You can talk to me anytime and I will comment back as soon as possible. Take care, guys. Have a good one. Bye.